Tommy, I know I've mentioned it before on this podcast, but my golf trip is finally here. We got 4 amazing days in California. We're playing Pasatiempo, which is an Alistair McKenzie design. You probably don't know who that is. He designed Augusta and Cypress Point. Pebble Beach, Cypress Point, which is arguably the best course in the country, if not the second best after Pine Valley, and Spyglass Hill. Going to be an amazing trip. We got Spencer Hawes on the trip, my brother, my brother-in-law. There will be some action on this trip. Rather than just paying each other every day after every round, after every, we're going to play the par 3 course at Pebble a couple times. I just figure we keep a running tally, and at the end of the week, we pay each other, we settle up. What's the easiest way to do that, Tommy?
2 words, Cash App.
Cash App, easy, simple. And what else do you do on Cash App, Tommy?
You can trade crypto. You can make any kind of investment. Anything else? Anything I'm missing?
I think you nailed it. It's a very versatile app.
Indeed.
All right, let's welcome in our guest, Gabrielle Union. Gab, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of the podcast.
You know, I was thinking about this earlier today, and technically, this is not your first appearance on The Old Man and the Three, because when we had your husband, D. Wade, on way back when, episode 5, you made a special guest appearance in the Old Man and the Three draft. I think the topic was best movie villains, and D. Wade allowed you to select the 5th pick, and you picked Cha-Cha Di Gregorio from Greece. Quite the pick. Quite the pick.
Quite the pick. She's a dark horse in that race, but I'm going to take Cha-Cha Di Gregorio, the best dancer at St. Bernadette's with the worst reputation, any fucking day. She's an icon, and she has not gotten her flowers.
I actually re-listened to the episode, and like out of the blue, D is like, he's like, yeah, what's your favorite movie villain? And without hesitation, that's what you came up with, which is like a weird place to go. It's not my first thought.
I'm obsessed with the movie Grease. I've seen it a bazillion times, and I've always had a love of Cha-Cha Di Gregorio. She's everything.
Well, we want to congratulate you on your new book that just came out a couple weeks ago. You Got Anything Stronger? Came out September 14th. This is your second book after We're Going to Need More Wine. Can you just talk a little bit about just the motivation to write a book, period? And then we'll get into a little bit about just your writing style, your openness, your candidness, your honesty, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've been asked to write before, and I was just like, who the hell wants to hear, my story? It's like, no. I wrote the foreword to a friend's book that did very well, and then I contributed to his next book that did really well. And they kept saying, you really should put, pen to paper and write down some of these gems that you're sharing for free. I was like, I just didn't have the esteem, the self-esteem to even think I was capable. But then the chorus became a little deafening, and I was like, let me just try. So I did the first one. I can now, when I look back and read it, I can just feel the fear dripping from every page, just so worried about how it was going to be received and judgment and all that. But now for this book, after 4 years after the first one, New York Times bestseller, an insane book tour that felt like a revival, where everyone was just like, thank you for sharing this. And I'm like, I really didn't share that much. I held back a lot. So I knew that going into this next one, I was going to need a lot of healing. I was going to need a lot of time and perspective to really leave it all on the page. And the whole thing is just about building community and sharing stories, sharing resources, and building community so people don't feel so alone.
So you definitely did not hold back in this one, which is one of the reasons why it's so good. And we were talking about that before we started recording. How have you sort of taught yourself to write this honestly? Because most books like this are not as candid as, and you get into it right from page 1. But like how did you sort of take the leap there where you're able to sort of kind of open up a vein and put it on the page like this?
Well, living in fear and making fear-based decisions have actually never worked for me. So you get to a certain age, you guys are much younger than I, where you just kind of get to a certain age where you're like, God, I have such a full basket of fucks. So full, it's spilling over actually. And over time, just start to do that bitch out. And then like, fuck it. I know what lying or concealing or being cagey or vague or whatever has gotten me, not living my dream. what's the worst that can happen if I tell the truth? And for me, nothing bad happened. The world opened up, and every dream I ever thought I even had, dreams I didn't know I had, are being presented to me, and doors are opening in a way that they just never have before. So I firmly recommend people not give a fuck and lean into radical transparency.
I love that concept. To be clear real quick, Tommy is much younger than you. There is a reason this podcast is called The Old Man and the Three.
JJ's pretty old, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's a reason I retired, Gab. There's a reason. You mentioned the word fear, and I'm very curious to sort of get your perspective on the fear of reception. Number one, as we mentioned, there's a lot in the book. So there's the reception of what you're talking about. And then there's the reception just overall, like, is it a good book? Is it something that people want to read? And so how do you sort of grapple with that fear of reception?
I don't really live too much in fear of critics or reviews. I mean, most of my audience isn't relying on those to make their decisions about much of anything. It's more of, are you going to think I'm a bad person or a bad mother or a bad wife or whatever, a bad strip club client, participant, whatever. You just don't want to be cast out. You don't want to be thought of as less than or unworthy or just bad. Those fears are never really going to go away. We're all human. We all there's a people pleasing gene that's sort of in there somewhere. But for me, I've had to figure out how to quiet that shit. Otherwise, I become a slave to the reception, and everything I do is about how it's going to be received. You know what I mean? So being so fixated on the reception will alter your whole course. Like your dreams will shift into, what do you think will be more palatable for the masses? Not what is on your heart and what you stay up at night thinking about, but what dream is the most respectable or the most relatable or the easiest to digest? And now you're living somebody else's life. For me, it just was a lot of that and not getting where I wanted to go, living a life for everyone, when you're everything to everyone and nothing to yourself. And it was just like, okay, well, I know where that leads. Fuck it. I'm just going to try to not worry about what people do with this information, and I finally got to a point where it's like, my truth is my truth is my truth. It's not going to fucking change. How you receive it says everything about you and nothing about me. And I'm pretty solid in that stance now.
Yeah, that had to have been a very powerful experience to go through for you, to sort of own that truth. Yes. I want to touch on the reception as it relates to sort of your acting career in a second, but the book itself and the subsequent book and all you've done over the last 3 or 4 years since the first book came out, I would assume it's been incredibly empowering for other women, and that has created sort of a cyclical effect where all of a sudden you feel even more empowered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just takes the first domino to fall. And then you're like, holy shit, this is what I was waiting for my whole life. You're waiting for someone else to turn over that first domino, but it's you were the first fucking domino. So a lot of times you're sort of waiting for someone's going to come and save me from myself or other people or whatever. And it's you. You're like, I'm waiting for something that's never going to arrive because it's me. So fuck, okay, I got to figure out how to get out of my own way. And firmly believe that you are worthy of everything that you've ever desired. And you're worthy of getting to the truth. You're worthy of evolution. You're worthy of turning over that first domino and seeing the ripple effect. And seeing the response from folks, men and women, which you sort of go into certain things assuming you know what the audience is going to be. I can't predict these days anymore, but the response has been overwhelming. Even the critical acclaim is, it's nice. Most of the people reading my book, never going to see it. But it's nice to know that people felt that I improved from the first book to the second. They could see the evolution of my writing style. They could see the effort that I put in to try to reach people in using different writing styles. So that was nice, but I didn't need it in the same way that I used to need it. Like that shit used to be my life's blood. Validation, public validation was like, oof, I needed that shit. Like put it into my veins. I want it.
You're talking about as that relates to sort of your acting career and a performance.
All of it.
You have a role on TV, you have a role in a film, and a movie comes out, a show comes out, and you are not actively, but you needed that validation, that positive reception. You needed that, I guess maybe the word is glory or whatever it may be, but you needed that.
Oh, absolutely. I needed it in every area of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, whether that's walking into the arena and, how am I going to be received? Is my outfit, hot enough for Miami? Am I doing the basketball spouse thing well? Am I being a good mother? Am I being a good spouse? Am I being a good friend? And when you live a public life, they chime in on all of it. It's not just about the movies. Like everything is fair game. You're like, you caught that, huh? You caught that dirty tub in the background on my IG live. Okay, yeah. Now I got to take that L. Whatever. But when you want it so badly and you're a slave to it, you'll end up doing nothing because you can't figure out how to do anything if there's not a cheering section or people, praising you so loudly it drowns out your own inner monologue.
How did you get into acting?
I was a senior at UCLA and I was paying for school myself and I was just trying to get it done because turns out school's expensive when those bills are in your name and not in your parents. And I'm like, oh, I see why some people try to do this faster than others because this shit is expensive. So I was trying to get 4 more units and somebody was like, oh, you can get an internship, doing whatever for 4 units. Awesome. Let me figure out what the easiest internship is. I found one working with models. How hard? I mean, they're all idiots, right? Models, actors, they're all idiots. How hard could it be to work with them? So I got this internship in my last year of school, and I was like the office gopher help or whatever, and I worked in the kids department. So we were working with Hayden Panettiere and Jessica Biel and Shane West and all of those like young child actors, and I talked to their parents and managers and whatnot. And when my internship ended, they were like, would you ever consider being like one of our clients and us representing you? And mind you, I had such low self-esteem. I wanted to be a video host so bad. Like that's all I wanted. I didn't want to be in movies. I didn't want to be in commercials. I wanted to be the chosen video host. And well, that's what we called them then. Now they are video vixens, IG models. But I wanted to be like a hot bitch. Except I lacked all of the necessary accoutrement, like big boobs or an ass. Kind of didn't really, it wasn't really the desired look at the time. Like I was literally, auditioning for like California Love video with Tupac and 20 of his closest.
So you fell into a really successful acting career when you wanted to be a video host.
Yeah, trying to be in music videos. I was like, let me try my hand at acting. And I have a photographic memory and, memorizing like Saved by the Bell scripts, not that hard. So I started booking things right away and they were like, okay, this is something. So they had made up a fake resume before they sent me out on an audition. And they were like, with each job you get, we'll take a fake thing off. And pretty soon my resume was real and I was just working nonstop, but I just wanted to be California Love video.
One day it'll happen.
Did you ever get close, like a second callback for a music video?
No, not the ones I wanted, but then one became like, an actor that people could recognize. Then I became like this in-demand video vixen. So I did like Busta Rhymes video, LL Cool J, Mark Nelson, and a Montel Jordan video, an Uncle Sam video. I feel like there's more, but I can't remember. But yeah, but those were once they were like, oh, I want the Bring It On chick in my music video.
How do you think if you were breaking into the business now, How do you think your career would have ended up differently?
Oh, I wouldn't have had a career because my youth, I was a little wild. I was very wild, but this was before
it sounds like it.
camera phones and blogs, and your neighbor turned into like the feds. Like, you could have an obscene amount of fun. You can get into a lot of trouble, and no one knew. You know what I mean? Unless the police got involved or whatever, you could get into trouble, make stupid mistakes, and do dumb shit, and kiss a lot of frogs, and nobody gave a shit. Now, trying to live the way I live, the way I like to live. Hell no.
This is JJ at Duke. This is why he doesn't like talking about this on the show. This is a different non-family friendly JJ.
You know, Tommy, it's a fair point, and it's one that I completely agree with, and I've been open about. But again, I have to save some things for the book. You know, there's only I put like 85% of this stuff in the podcast. You know, we got to save some stuff for the book. Gab, was there an early role where things changed for you, where you felt like it just elevated your status? The calls were coming in more frequently. Your fame was rising. Was there a specific role where you're like, oh, it's different?
Well, like Bring It On and Bad Boys 2, they kind of happen pretty close together. So the fame shoots you kind of through the roof, but I'm still a Black woman in Hollywood, and there just aren't the roles. But they tell you you're on all the lists. You're like the it girl. You're this. You're that. You're getting recognized. They know. You have name face recognition. All that shit changes. But the roles didn't. They weren't. No one was knocking down my door. And so after Bad Boys 2, I can't walk down the street, in any major city here or abroad. But I also was unemployable. So they're like, we're prepared to follow up that worldwide blockbuster with the 8th lead on a CBS medical procedural. And that's just kind of been the nature of my career. It's, it's this, it's this. So it's weird now I'm about to be 49, and I've never been more in demand. Now I have the career I was supposed to have in my mid-20s. But I guess it comes when it comes,
That's wild. Tommy, I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but I did want to mention this. The woman that I dated prior to starting to date my wife was actually in Bring It On, In It to Win It, I think it was called.
Oh,
it was either the third or the fourth one. It was filmed on a college campus. It was actually filmed at UCF. That's how she got a role. She was like, I don't think she had a speaking part, but she definitely had like 4 or 5 scenes. I thought that was very interesting. And she made me watch the movie 5 or 6 times. But
I don't even know if Dee's ever watched Bring It On. I don't know if he's watched most of my movies.
Wait, Bring It On, like the one you were in?
Yeah.
Oh, I watched that like 15 times when I was that age. Yes.
He has to have seen Bad Boys too, though, right? I mean, that's a Miami classic.
Are you asking if I've seen Bad Boys?
No, I'm saying D. I'm saying he has to have seen
Oh.
that. I mean, I think everyone's seen that.
Yeah, he saw it. I mean, no, he must have seen something because he definitely was a fan. I've heard that from numerous people that perhaps I was on his wall in college.
Wait, this is prior to you guys knowing each other. People were telling you that he was a fan?
No, well, I heard it at an All-Star. I think it was like his first All-Star. And I was with my husband, my former spouse, and someone was like, "Oh my God, you are his like dream, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, that's cute." I'd never heard of him. Definitely that same All-Star. I thought he was. Do you guys remember Bo Outlaw?
Oh yeah, I played with Bo Outlaw.
Yeah. So I know Bo, he dated a friend. And so I thought I was literally walking up on Bo Outlaw, and I was like, "Yo," and I hit him on the back, and Bo Outlaw does not turn around. It's Dwyane. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, wrong person." But he was so geeked that it was like, finally, I knew it. Once I made it to the league, they were just gonna come throwing themselves at me. And I was like, "Oh, not Bo Outlaw, sorry." Nice to meet you though. Yeah. So
that's a tremendous story. Was there a specific role that you remember during this period of time? This is like the mid-aughts, I think. Bad Boys 2 was like 03. Is that right? Like, was there a role that you really wanted that you
All
thought
of
maybe you had a chance to get? And all of them. Okay. Is there a specific role that you remember that you were like, oh man, I wish I had that?
I mean, the one that still, it stings. I don't know why this is the one that sticks out because there's 1,000 roles I haven't gotten. Josie and the Pussycats, Rosario got it. And like it still hurts to this day. It hurts. And I'm like, yeah. So Rosario, today, do you really feel like you were the best person for the job? I mean, it's a safe space now. You can just go ahead and tell. But yeah, like that one hurt for whatever reason. I've never let it go. It's been like 25 years.
You can compare book sales. That's the new thing.
I actually apologize for asking the question. I'm having PTSD right now about people asking about all my, 2004 semifinals against UConn, not making the final shot. I've still held on to that for 17 years. Yeah. I mean, I get it.
You guys have some pretty big plays. Some went your way, some not so much. And I cannot say that I was a fan. Certainly in the earlier years in the 90s. I definitely was a UNLV aficionado. Definitely still to this day, when someone says Christian Laettner, I'm like, it took me a while to warm up to Shane Battier. Things like this, I had to get over slowly. I'm like, can I trust you, Batty? I don't know. You're a Dookie. But yeah, but our dog's name is Bobby Hurley.
I need an explanation on that one.
Well, I tried. I went with Vinny Del Negro. He did not respond. And then I was like, Bobby Hurley. And he turned around. He was like, stuck.
That's amazing.
That is the most random. That's amazing. It's just so surprising of all the people.
Like a small white, when we name our dogs after people. So we had Biggie, Tyrone Biggins, Bubba Sparks.
Does Bobby know? Have you ever met him?
I've never run into him. I've said this story so many times, but the Hurley family has not responded. I hope they take this as an homage to the great point guard. I mean, and as a lover of all things point guards, from the ACC at that time, I have a lot of respect for Bobby Hurley.
Your Duke hate has evolved. It's commendable. It really is commendable.
It's had to evolve.
How good were you as a player? Because I tried to sort of research this, and there's some conflicting sort of information on the interwebs, and I just wanted to come to the source. You did play, though, growing up, correct?
Yeah. No, I played sports my whole life, year-round. Basketball, soccer, softball, track. By the time I got to high school, it was just basketball and soccer because they both kind of are year-round, and I couldn't maintain the schedule. I was solid, but I was getting like NAIA offers, solid D3s that no one's ever heard of. And for me, I was like, I don't love it that much. And there wasn't, unless you were super, super good, you're a Don Bailey or something, like you weren't going anywhere. There wasn't a thing to really shoot for if you were just okay. And I felt that my parents had enough money for me to not have to go to an NAIA school or a D3 school just for basketball. So I went where I out of high school, I started at University of Nebraska and I played soccer there and then promptly transferred after exactly one semester. And that felt right. But no, I was fine. I was so much more interested in partying and dudes than being in the gym or the weight room or anything really that you need to do to be successful in sports. I was not doing any of that.
Being a rather tall individual, I can relate to not having clothes fit me the right way. We all settle for traditional retail sizes, but why? What does a medium person look like? Does it look like Tommy? Is that person smaller than Tommy? Is that person bigger than Tommy? I don't know.
Am I just medium and everything? I feel like I am. I feel like it's actually accurate.
You wear a small t-shirt. We all know that. We can tell by the IG pics.
Extra small.
How can two people wear a medium when they're different heights? Pants are made to fit one type of body, and everyone else has to settle for a less than perfect fit. That's why you've got to check out Public Rec. They make elevated athleisure wear in multidimensional sizes because they believe that comfort starts with a better fit.
Their best-selling all-day, everyday pant is available in over 40 different sizing combinations and can fit men anywhere from 5'8" to nearly 7 feet tall, like some of our guests. Public Rec spent years engineering the perfect blend of softness, stretch, and durability. It's all the performance benefits you love with the added style for more formal occasions. They also have zipper pockets, so no more having your phone or wallet fall out when you sit down.
They come in 9 different colors, one for each day of the week, and then some. Public Rec also makes elevated shorts, t-shirts, polos, jackets, even golf gear, and they just launched their women's lines. Now anyone listening to this can enjoy Public Rec's better fitting comfort. These are always the top choice in my rotation. Public Rec rarely discounts, but right now they have an exclusive offer just for Old Man and the Three listeners. Go to publicrec.com and use promo code OLDMAN to receive 10% off. That's publicrec, REC.com, publicrec.com, and use our promo code OLDMAN for 10% off. You know, it's funny. There are all these gimmicks that promise a great night's sleep. I don't care what kind of toppers there are or how heavy a blanket may be. If you're sleeping on a terrible mattress, your sleep will be terrible. It's that simple. That's why I recommend sleeping on a Purple mattress. Only Purple mattresses have the Gel Flex Grid. It's a super stretchy, ultra squishy material that adapts and flexes around pressure points and doesn't retain heat. The Gel Flex Grid is amazingly supportive for your back and legs while cushioning your shoulders, neck, and hips, no matter how you sleep.
Unlike memory foam, which remembers everything, Purple mattresses bounce back as you move and shift. You'll never have that I'm stuck feeling people get with memory foam. Try your Purple mattress risk-free with free shipping and returns. Financing is available too.
I have one of these, and sleeping on a Purple mattress really is a game changer. So remember, getting a great night's sleep starts with having a great mattress. Get a Purple mattress. Go to purple.com/JJ and use code JJ. For a limited time, you can get 10% off any order of $200 or more. That's purple.com/JJ, code JJ for 10% off any order of $200 or more. One last time, purple.com/JJ, promo code JJ, terms apply. There's big news for my favorite home security company. SimpliSafe just launched their new wireless outdoor security camera. That's right, SimpliSafe, the system that U.S. News and World Report names Best Home Security System of 2021, just got even better. This brand new outdoor security camera is engineered with all of the advanced tech and security features you want and need to help keep you and your family safe.
It has an ultra-wide 140-degree field of view, so you can keep watch over your entire yard. It has a 1080p HD resolution with an 8x zoom. That means you can zoom in and clearly see things like faces and license plates to capture critical evidence. It has a built-in spotlight with color night vision, so you can keep an eye on what's going on day and night. Wow. It's super simple to set up and usually just takes minutes. This camera has it all, and it integrates with your SimpliSafe home security system, extending its protection to the outside.
To learn more about the exciting new SimpliSafe wireless outdoor security camera, visit simplisafe.com/JJ. That's simplisafe.com/JJ. What's more, SimpliSafe is celebrating this new camera by offering 20% off your entire new system and your first month of monitoring service free. That's a deal when you enroll in interactive monitoring. Again, that's simplisafe.com/JJ.
If you were not personally involved in 2010, what would you have thought of the Heat teaming up as a sports fan?
As a sports fan, I loved it. I'm not one of those, old school purists that was like, I suffered. I never won shit because I couldn't fucking move due to, the collective bargaining agreement. Rah, fuck you. Yeah, I'm not that. I just, as a fan of like all of these powerful Black men, like figuring this out on their own and turning the NBA on its fucking head. I was here for that fucking flex move. Definitely thought it was going to be an interesting experiment, which it was. How the hell were all these pieces going to fit? But yeah, no, I was here for all of that shit. But I was also here for when when KG and Paul and Rondo and Ray all came together, even though they don't want to admit it that they kicked that bitch off. But there's been super teams before. They didn't have, it wasn't in this era with this platform and with social media and sports talk radio 24/7. It's different, and how you look at it is different. And the whole built, not bought, like whatever. Boring is what it says to be. Okay, you built it. Did anyone come? No. Your fans are leaving at fucking halftime. Your cheerleaders can't be bothered. So give me a bought team. I don't give a shit. I want excitement, and it was it just changed the NBA, and it gave a modicum of power to the players. And once they were successful at it, I mean, 4 straight runs to the finals, 2 wins. I mean, come on, it became a blueprint. And now those AAU relationships, the camps, all those relationships are coming into play now. And there's relationships that sports media will never have access to, because you're not sleeping in some shitty dorm, trying to figure out how to get to the next level with these same people that you're in these, camps with, or at these tournaments with, and Duluth, you know what I mean? Like there's bonds being formed that, college coaches, the shoe companies can't control. And I love to see it. I love to see how these guys are going to be able to control their own fate.
We have talked about this a few times on the show, most recently for a few minutes with Blake Griffin. He brought up the '08 Celtics team. You just mentioned that there were many super teams prior to the Heat. And I've been a firm believer that the reaction, or the negative reaction, I should say, to the Heatles and the Heat forming, this big 3 forming, was because it was player driven. And you just said the second part of that. It was 3 black men who sort of orchestrated this. Obviously, Pat was involved in getting this sort of deal done. And, the front office had to figure out cap space. Bron and Chris and D Wade all had to give up a little bit of money to make it work. But the engine, the sort of orchestrator of this whole move, for the first time in NBA history, was 3 players doing it. It was a watershed moment in this whole player empowerment era. And so I couldn't agree with you more. Like, it is, to me, it's the most important thing that happened in my career.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I get, part of the fun is everyone having different opinions about it, and the reaction to it. There was the people who love the Heatles, and then was, the Chicago Bulls. It's funny because Joakim is I'm a massive fan and of him and his father. And so we've, had a chance to talk about it since, but, all that, Bulls chatter, Hollywood is hell, blah, 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 blah. Don't be mad because you're cold in Chicago. And they're not paying state taxes, and they're living the fucking life, and they're winning, and and it's like, it made the NBA sexy again. You know what I mean? We hadn't had that kind of interest, good or bad, really since Showtime. You know what I mean? You had those Kobe teams, but it didn't all come together, beyond, Kobe and Shaq. There weren't, the whole team wasn't like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. You know what I mean? There was a Smush Parker in there somewhere. You know what I mean? The kind of like,
a Chris Mim.
A Chris Mim. God bless Chris Mim. But like with the Heatles, it was like 12 strong. Everyone had a story. Everyone had, a spot to flex. That shit it's rare. And you see teams trying to, recreate that now, and as they should, you know what I mean? But also that whole taking a pay cut to make it work. I think they're catching on now. And if you're a player listening to this podcast, don't fucking take a pay cut to help billionaires avoid paying taxes. I think Donald Trump did enough of that. So don't take it on the chin. Money you'll never get back. Fuck that. You know your worth, and they know your worth too. So don't worry about other people's tax problems. Get your money.
Have you ever thought about being a sports agent on the side? A sports agent?
I was going to say, or just a sports commentator. You should do what we do. You're like way better at than us.
No, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the game, and in being married to him, and how he's moved through the league and where he's at now, having to understand the business side. And it's a business, and you can never forget that whole loyalty shit. And we're a family. Fuck that. You're a family till we get divorced, and they are divorcing motherfuckers like crazy. So you could be happy now, but negotiate like divorce is on the table at all times, because they will drop you like a bad habit or throw you square under the bus. When things don't go well. So you have to come into this understanding it's a business, and that money that you'll make up, in a big market. Stop the lies. Let's. Why are we playing these games? Why are we telling these people these stupid ass things? But yeah, you get a lot of people who have no clue about the business of basketball and how things get done and all of that, chiming in with their hot takes, and you're like, oh, well, that's cute. You're just trying to get clicks, but you actually have no fucking clue what you're talking about. That's cute.
Secure the bag. Always secure the bag.
Always secure the bag. That money is not magically reappearing anywhere. Like, get it today. It's not like, the wimpy, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. No. Get your hamburger and your pay today. Tuesday will never come.
Do you have any, with a little bit of distance, do you have any on-court memories from those teams that stand out to you?
Oh gosh, I definitely think that they were unfair to Chauny, my little Mario Summers. They gave Mario the flux. Oh, that was, gosh, Mario took a lot of abuse. But they had fun. That first year, not as fun. Last year, not as fun. But those 2 years where they won, I've just never seen anything like it really in sports, and to have a bird's eye view of it. When D was, injured and playing with, swollen knees and whatnot, and literally getting, fluid taken out of his knee on a game day, which, as you guys know, is not ideal, but still playing anyway. And you had Braun there to shoot the gaps where, there were, challenges. And then when Braun, had challenges, you had these other people who stepped up, and everyone had a chance to shine. It was fucking awesome. There were so many games where we were just like, it just felt like angels in the outfield, where it just feels like we're if you're a Miami fan and you're in it and you're in this arena, or like the game when Ray, we thought it was over, and Chris, tapped it to the fucking goat in the corner and, saved the season and kept us alive. That shit felt like, I don't know, like something out of a Disney movie. Like, that's not real life. And how the arena just felt like electric. That shit was awesome. But also, shit like there were some bad motherfuckers at those games. Some hot chicks. Like, I don't know where they built these ones at, in a lab, I think. Just like beautiful people, all the celebrities from around the world that came out and just became these fans. It was just awesome to see and be a part of.
I think it was, again, just to reiterate what I said earlier and what you're saying, it was just so good for the NBA those years. I sort of have one more basketball question, but we asked Dwyane when he came on the show just about that decision to retire, kind of when he knew, and he was very poignant about it and could remember like the specific moment when he was like, oh, maybe it's time. From your perspective, do you sort of have any reflections on watching one of the 3 best players ever at his position? You guys were together when he was in his prime, and then it's just sort of watching him age gracefully, because he did age gracefully. He was still a very effective player in his last year. Do you have any reflections on that in sort of watching him over those 10 or 11 years?
There's the on-court things that started, changing, maybe slowed down a bit, wasn't getting to the ball as quickly. He wasn't coming off the ball as quickly, couldn't cut in the way that he, was known for. And there was a game when he was in Cleveland, and it came down to the fourth quarter, and he had basically been running the second unit, and he was like, he pointed at Giannis, and I'm in the stands like, I don't think this is a good idea. But D is 6'3" on a good day, tiny. Giannis is an actual giant. He's guarding Shrek at this point. But when in crunch time, he wanted it. He wanted all the smoke. And when I tell you, this man shut him down. And he's working off a toolbox that half the tools are no longer available to him. And he shut him down. But he did it psychologically. He did it through watching film. He did it through understanding the game and having an insane basketball IQ. But it was that moment where he had to beat him with his brain and not with his physicality that I was like, okay. He can still get it done, but it's not, I can feel it feeling different for him. And the joy is not the same, having to rely on your wits and your basketball IQ. And then at home, he just wasn't happy. You know, you sacrifice a lot. You know, he was spending a lot of money getting his body ready just for practice, for games. And the fun he wasn't as happy. It wasn't as fun for him, you know, to not be able to have his full toolkit. And now, like, one of the best things I ever heard him say, I was sitting on the stairs listening to him and Rachel Nichols do his final interview before he retired. And she was like, what's next? And he said, therapy. And I was like, what? But that was the first time I'd ever heard him say it out loud. Like, I had suggested it and I was like, nah. But to hear him say it and take that ownership of like, no, I'm gonna need therapy. I've never been in this position as an adult person and I'm gonna need help. And that's when I knew he was prioritizing his peace and his joy and he wanted to reclaim it. And like, we call him 2.0 Billy D. This is the most fun version of my husband I've ever seen, ever. He's fun. He's adventurous. He's evolved. He's cultured. He's well-read. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And our roles have kind of like shifted. I'm kind of let's stay home. And he's like, let's party on top of the tables in Cannes, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I saw the yacht stuff on IG. It was a good time. It looked like a good time.
Yeah, and that's him every day, 6 a.m. Who the hell needs to get up at 6 a.m. when you don't need to? When I tell you he pops out of bed like Tigger, I'm like, he's like, are we working out today? No, motherfucker, we're not. I don't have to get up for another 3 hours. But you enjoy that. But he's a happier person.
I'm really happy to actually hear that because I know a lot of guys, at least my friends, it takes some time. Some guys still haven't figured it out, and some guys it takes longer than others. First of all, by the way, D is like 6'1". I just want to say that real quick. Like I'm not playing against him for whatever 12 years, however long it was, and I'm like, I would come on the court and I'd be like, yo, this guy's 6'3", I'm listed at 6'4". It's not possible. It's not possible. He's like 6'1". Secondly, besides therapy, asking for a friend, but do you have any other retirement tips for an ex-athlete?
Accept the help when it's offered. Sometimes the people closest to you can see things you can't see yet. So be open to accepting some help or some guidance. Find mentors while you're still playing. Do internships while you're still playing, and just find shit that maybe it's never interested you, but you're going to need to figure out what your other passions are in life. And if you've only really been focused on the sport, you haven't really had a lot of time or space for other interests that could, fuel your next chapter, your next few chapters. So I strongly recommend to athletes, across the board, to get internships while you're playing in the off season. Find mentors, that you respect, whose lives are full and full of passion and success, where they still haven't lost sight of family and their own physical and mental well-being. But you have to make that while you're still playing. You want to say while people still care, but it's easier to find mentors when you can offer some tickets. And there's people who will be there when it's over, but it's a lot less, and that's just straight. So don't wait until it's over to reach out and I'm interested in this. Can I sit at the feet? Can I sit in on meetings? Can we establish a mentorship program? I think a lot of guys wait until they're under the bus before they realize maybe I should have taken some more proactive steps while I was still playing.
So Gab, I don't want to ask about the banana boat because you've talked about it a bunch.
It's good.
I mean, but what I will say, friend of the show, CP3, who listens and watches most of our episodes, I want to know if you have any stories about him that you can share on the pod, because I know he'll see this. And so if there's something that you feel like is fun for our audience to from one of your experiences with him.
Specifically, Chris is like, he's like a little, he's like a little general on the court. He's like a little general, like in life, that doesn't really turn off. So I'm trying to think of something specific. Most of like our vacation stories are sort of Bron or Mel specific. Yeah, he doesn't really do anything extra crazy. Him and Dee are more of like the, where CP and Mel are like take off on the jet skis and they're like, adventure awaits. Dee and CP are like, we shouldn't go. They're like little tugboats, more cautious. They're not really going to take a lot of risks. I feel like Chris and I were like maybe the first to get into like swim with the sharks or like pet the sharks. Like me, Chris, and Lala, but they're not really crazy stories. It's not like the Mel got swept out to sea and Bron had to jump in and save him like Aquaman. Those are funny stories. But yeah, Chris would have never, been in the water without like water wings. He's just not going to take that risk.
Were you surprised the banana boat thing blew up like it did?
No, because we knew that there was paparazzi around and we thought that we'd be able to see them. That was the only reason why we hadn't brought out the banana boat earlier in the trip, because we're like, we're not going to get, the guys were like, we don't want to get, papped on this fucking banana boat. So we thought they had left for the day. And we're like, banana boat. And Mel hadn't arrived yet. And they were like, okay, well, who's going to, which of the girls is going to get on here? And Savannah and Jada were like, not me. And I was like, fuck it, I'll go. So yeah, and it just took off. Like you're kind of behind like a little speedboat, and if they just go straight, it's not hard to hang on there. But our guy was like freaking Lewis Hamilton. He's doing all these turns and shit. And at that first turn, we hadn't gotten it together, and we bailed. And cut to, we look up, we're like, I feel like no one saw it. And like 2 hours later, those pictures were everywhere. But yeah. It was me, not Mel, on the boat. And one day I will see the four of them truly try to, recreate the banana boat with the four of them.
That would actually be sick. That would be sick.
I'd like to see it.
I've one more question. I'll let Tommy jump in after this. And it's sort of just a general and specific question about fame. And as someone who's been in the public spotlight and been a public figure for over 2 decades, how your sort of perspective and relationship with fame has evolved, and subsequent to that, also for you and Dwyane, how the unique challenges of being parents and being public figures and having your life sort of out there.
In the beginning, you want fame because it's sexy and you feel like, oh my God, if I'm famous, all of these things are going to happen. And if only I got famous, then I'll feel better about myself. And then, because fame is really just outside validation, a lot of it, right? So when you get some, it does feel good at first. You feel like, oh my God, this is it. And then all of the things that made you want the fame in the first place, largely low self-esteem, perhaps daddy or mama issues, your own personal hardships that you think fame is somehow going to solve. It doesn't solve anything. You're just famous with a bunch of problems. And when you get to that point, you're disillusioned because you're now a famous person dealing with big issues, you know what I mean? That can manifest in 1,000 different ways, and fame can feel like a trap. At this stage, once me and Dee got together and we, raising kids and whatnot, and you realize that every decision is under a microscope, whether you put it there or not. And you don't get to choose when people are paying attention or choose when people chime in or not. But I will say that there has never been someone that has chimed in negatively about our family that I have ever felt impacted by. It's not like, I don't know, Barack Obama or Oprah or Viola Davis or someone that I respect, or Janet Jackson, is or anyone whose life choices I have admired. None of those people are the people chiming in. It's other miserable people. And when they say hurt people, fame doesn't change that shit. Fame just magnifies it and blows it up and puts it on a world stage. But if you're not doing the internal work every day, on yourself, fame will eat you alive, because you'll be a slave to the reaction. You'll be a slave to the reception, because that's what fame is. And if you don't have a real skill and you're just famous for just whatever, now you're living in fear of when it will all go away. If you're famous for being attractive, looks change, shit changes, shit don't stay the same, in the same place. If you're famous for, a sport, or you're famous for things that are kind of more fleeting, you have to be real clear about yourself and your own self-worth. Because when the fame, starts to wane, that can't, your self-esteem and your self-respect can't go with it. So you have to really be clear about who you are, where you stand, where your morals and values are, and what's on the table and what's not on the table. And I think a lot of people get that really confused, really, really confused.
It's a really thoughtful answer. Very thoughtful answer.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the book is when you write about balance and how sort of balance doesn't really exist. But to that point, even I think for a lot of people listening to this, different ages and backgrounds and everything like that, like, when do you feel like you write about this a little bit, but just sort of curious, like, when do you think you really gained this perspective? Because it does feel like you have so many different things in your life going on at all points. Sometimes it's crazy. It's just craziness juggling everything. Like, when do you feel like you got to that place? Because I definitely know, we all know people in our lives that feel like they're not there yet. And so it's like how they can feel like they have the perspective to, feel sort of measured in their own skin.
That's a great question. There's a reason I wrote the chapter, entitled it "Fuck Balance," because balance is bullshit. That I firmly believe is an extension, an arm of the patriarchy, meant to make women feel like you're constantly failing at something else. Like, balance is like the Precious in the Lord of the Rings, and we're all like, balance. And you're chasing something that doesn't exist. There's 24 hours in a day. Can't be a boss bitch, a sex pot, a great mom, a great wife, a great friend, a housekeeper, a chef, a driver, a philanthropist, a community activist. There's 24 hours in a day. You can't be all of those things. It's legit impossible. And there's not enough goat yoga or oat milk or whatever the fuck that will somehow make it all balance. What you can ask for and receive is grace. I don't have it today. I'm going to be in like work mode, and I'm going to be trying to hit it out of the park over here, but I'm going to need a very large village to help me with this, with my slack where I'm not going to be hitting it out of the park. And we all have to be okay with that. But I came to that realization in the last couple of years, really like around the end of Dee's career, where I was paying more attention to his press conferences and what he was saying to the media as he was becoming more, zen and very Yoda-like. I was like, wait, you have to talk to the media every day for, I don't know, he was doing like 45 minutes or something like that every day for his whole career. You got full custody of your kids as a single NBA dude. You have 1,000 endorsements and other gigs. Not ever? These motherfuckers never asked you, how do you balance it all? Do you have a meatloaf recipe or a Christmas cookie recipe? How do you keep your... They've never asked, because for a man, the only balance that is required is for that check to clear. And I was like, oh, hold up, you're onto something. I too have checks that clear. So that should be all that you're asking of me as well. You know what I mean? And so I rebuke it. I rebuke you, and I divest from the bullshit. I divest from this patriarchal fool's gold that you have everyone investing in and feeling like we're failing and less than and bad moms and bad wives and blah, blah, blah. Because we haven't figured out how to turn 24 hours into, 72 hours. Duh, like it's impossible. And it's okay to let go of that fucking dream and say, you know what? I'm not going to get to balance. What I can ask for and receive is grace.
I think there's about 150 gems in this episode.
Yeah, we're breaking that out. That's like its own episode.
Gab, we appreciate the wisdom. We appreciate the time. This has been a lot of fun. Congrats again on the book. And I can't wait to see you and Dwyane on a yacht very soon. Very soon. Can't wait to see it on IG.
Your lips to God's ears. No, thank you guys. I'm a huge fan, and thank you for doing the Lord's work.
Thanks, Gab.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
guys.
See you soon.